Welcome to Spry, a podcast where we embrace the most difficult parts of life, caregiving, aging, death, and dying, with courage, grace, and dignity. We focus on cultivating a mindset of constant personal growth and staying energetic, active, and engaged with the world, even as the years go by. We'll share our lived experiences, all of the tools that we found along the way, and insights from our community to help build confidence and resilience. All right, welcome to the Spry podcast. Today we have a very special guest, our dad, Jake. Welcome.
Good to be here with the three of you again.
Today we wanted to do an episode about aging and our senses. And this has been really present for me because I have had what I would call like the life-changing magic of trying out readers. So I'm 47. I've always had great eyesight, always tested, 20/20. And my husband recently got PRK done, which is like LASIK adjacent. It's a laser surgery for your eyes. And just a quick side note, if you maybe looked into LASIK or something like that, say 10 years ago, I would go check into it again, because when my husband first got glasses, he wasn't like a great candidate, but I think the technology has changed quite a bit, and there's more that can be done for your eyes. But as part of the process, he had a choice to make about whether he wanted one eye to be farsighted and one nearsighted, which apparently you can kind of train your brain and then you never need glasses again. You'll have perfect vision. Or if you choose both eyes to be farsighted, you'll need readers because you have the same sort of degradation of your sight that anyone who's aging does. And so he didn't like the, one side farsighted, one side nearsighted.
It seems overly complicated to me.
Yeah. It seemed really like, camera one, camera two.
Right.
Like the old,
Right.
Like the Wayne's World. So he went to, he switched out to the other contacts and then went and got some readers. And he, of course, just like runs to a drugstore and buys some like hideous readers. And I was like mocking him, and he's like, no, Nat, you just got to put these on and like check it out. And I put it on, and it was like, like the Little Mermaid. I was like, whoa, the world is like crystal clear. I can see my phone, my computer. I work on like a little MacBook, and I was like, oh, I really like. Then we were kind of fighting over these like drugstore readers. Where were they? Who had them? I had secretly like stashed them away. And so I immediately was like, okay, I'm on board with getting readers. And I don't think it wasn't because I thought, oh, well, I'll look like I'm aging or whatever. I just really didn't think I needed them. So the other thing I would say is like, if you're over 45, like just go check out some readers. It may change your life. So there's a bunch of different types of readers and brands of readers.
I wonder if you've improved Alex readers from the Walgreens version.
Yes.
No diss to Walgreens, but yeah, I have a feeling they aren't the most fashionable readers.
Yeah. So I have got some favorite brands. I know, Mom, you're like the queen of having great readers and many different kinds.
Yeah, Mom
around.
was the OG. Years ago, when you got readers, I remember you took a pair of Ray-Ban sunglasses and had the optometrist pop out the dark lenses and put in prescription lenses, right?
Right. Because back in the day, there was nothing available. And so that was a costly solution. But now you can get super cute, funky glasses online for such low cost. You've got to have your prescription. And even though I'm 20/20 for distance, I just love a no-line bifocal.
Oh,
that way I never have to take them on and off as I'm looking up and down.
Yeah, and I discovered there's definitely different qualities of no-line bifocal, like, maybe it's just the difference between a line and no line. Like we had one with a line, and it was like, drastic. So definitely recommend no-line bifocal, which means you can wear the glasses all the time. And when you're looking far away, they're adjusted for that. And then when you look down, and I have kind of taken to wearing them all day, especially at work, or if I'm going to be in front of a computer a lot, I'll wear them all day.
I wonder, I don't need glasses yet. I recently had an eye exam. I thought I did, but still fine. But I've purchase blue light glasses for when I'm in front of a computer all day too. Curious if you've encountered kind of both of those, something that helps
I like
with the
blue
screen.
light glasses because my eyes, when I have them, it doesn't feel like it's such a strain on them. It's a more of a relaxed view when you're looking at a computer or looking at my tablet. You don't get nearly as tired. It just kind of it just makes your eyes a little bit more relaxed. At least it does for me.
Well, I wish I would have done the blue. So a lot of people were doing like the blue blockers during the pandemic when we're all home in front of a computer all day. I noticed lots of people I worked with suddenly had glasses on, and I didn't jump on that bandwagon. But the readers I bought they didn't have a choice. Like they just came with a blue blocker.
Yeah,
and
that's great.
Totally noticed a difference. Yeah, for sure. I would even say if you don't need readers, get blue blocker glasses.
Right,
because
like I
it's
have.
huge. Yeah.
Well, I use the blue blockers at night because I like to read on a Kindle. And so that way you're not disturbing and you will fall asleep. But if you don't have blue blockers on, sometimes they say that does something to
like
your
your brain.
and you'll stay awake.
Like it's harder to get in your REM cycle from the light, they say, the experts.
And Mom, you also have sunglasses that are readers too, right?
Yes, I had to order the no line bifocal sunglasses because when you're outside, walking on the beach or anywhere with just regular fashion sunglasses on, I look down at my phone, I can't even see anything. It was like being blind. So I ordered those and it was a game changer. So, and Jake, my husband, my immortal beloved over there.
She says that on air. That's all.
Okay. Anyway, after cataract surgery, Jake was told to never not wear sunglasses, that much of the cataract inducing damage is done by not wearing sunglasses with the proper UV setting. So wear your sunglasses, especially when you're young, so you don't develop cataracts.
Foundation regrets.
Yeah,
per
a
our last
foundational
episode.
regret. Okay, so we know why we should wear glasses. We know you two are fashionable glasses wearers. Well, I would say you are too. I've never seen a sunglasses collection like the collection Jake has. It's
That is true.
enviable. So where can we find really great glasses that aren't going to break the bank?
Zenni.com is my favorite.
There's two brands I love, Look Optic. I also kind of love them because their branding is really fun. So Look Optic's tagline is "Fear not the fine print," which I think is kind of fun. Those are less expensive. And I have invested in 2 pair of Caddis, Caddis. Their tagline is "Get older, own it, see stuff."
I love that.
And actually, one of the co-founders of Caddis is from Utah, and they're headquartered here, which I had no idea until I started looking into it. But I would even say, those Walgreens readers, they're still kicking because just the ability to see better is worth it no matter where you get the glasses. And I have found you probably need I think we've got 5 or 6 pair now.
I was going to say 40.
Isn't Zenni.com really affordable though?
Very.
Yeah.
There are some frames that are $9.
Wow.
Yeah. It does get more expensive. So a basic reader is, very affordable. And then as you go to a no line bifocal and a blue blocker, like that kind of adds to the price. Just as a heads up. So yeah, I am seeing clearly now for, the first time in years.
Yeah. Eye health.
Yeah.
It's important. The reason I thought I needed glasses was because I was getting blurred vision, and it's because I have dry eyes. So he's a big proponent of everyone should just be using moisturizing eye drops, especially someone with dry eye, but even people without dry eye. He said the optometrist said you cannot overuse moisturizing eye drops.
Oh, I have never used those in my life.
Yeah.
Give them a try. Awesome. All right. Well, that's all about my site. What we really want to dive into today, and why Dad is here, is to talk about hearing and aging. And there's there's a lot about, the mechanics of losing your hearing. And so we're not doctors, so we're not really going to get into that.
We're not giving medical advice. We're just giving our life experience.
Exactly. But roughly, 30% of adults between the ages of 65 and 74 have some degree of hearing loss. And that goes up to 50% of people over the age of 75. And aging particularly affects your ability to hear higher frequencies. And that's really, when there's a lot of background noise. So let's say at a restaurant, or when multiple people are speaking at the same time. And even though, a hearing aid can compensate for like 75% of hearing loss, only 20% of people who need hearing aids actually wear them. And there's a lot of,
which leaves, just to add on to that statistic of only 20% that need them wear them, leaves over 23 million adults who are not wearing hearing aids who should be.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's
a
lot.
huge.
And there's, pretty substantial effects that, not hearing has on a person. So, the two big things are, not being able to hear a conversation really contributes to loneliness, and it can also contribute to, mental illnesses like dementia. I don't know if that's a mental illness, but, Yeah, it contributes to forming dementia. And I know, Janan, you've got some data around that.
Oh, yeah. There was a Dutch study done prior to 2019 that said every decibel drop in your hearing, and again, I'm not a doctor, I don't know how that translates, but every decibel drop in people under 70 increases the odds of becoming lonely by 7%. So if you times that out with all the decibels, so there's really this risk of loneliness is a huge thing. I even look at our grandma when she sits around the kitchen table with us on a Sunday, or when we take her to a loud restaurant, and she doesn't say anything, and because she can't hear anything.
Yeah.
It's so much harder for her. And how would that feel to sit with a group and not be able to respond or to hear?
Yeah, and I also think what will happen is, like, our grandma, like, bless her, she still comes to Sunday dinner with 15 of us and 7 loud children running around. And but a lot of people just avoid situations where there are multiple people present. So they just become completely withdrawn. So you're feeling lonely in the moment, but then you're just lonely because you're avoiding the situation in the first place.
Right.
Or maybe on Sunday she can't get in a word in edgewise. Have you ever thought about that?
What?
Oh, that could be it.
We should probably be more mindful of that.
It's really true. But back to what you're saying about dementia. So it's not the loss of hearing that causes the dementia, but isolation raises the risk of dementia, right? By 40%, and the odds of early death by 26%. So it's this waterfall effect, right? Where you can't hear, so you can't engage, you're feeling disconnected and lonely, and those can have really significant health effects.
Yep. So let's talk for a bit about our grandma. So she's 85, and she moved back here a few years ago.
3 years ago.
Yeah.
And of course, I and my sister had done most of the moving and amongst other problems that were happening in her life that time, that she was really losing her hearing.
All right, we're going to kill this gnat real quick. Oh, wait, did you get it?
Did you get it? I might have.
Okay. Okay, we'll start over. So, Grandma Judy, she moved back here.
She moved back here around 3 years ago, and my sister and I noticed that, and we hadn't spent significant amount of times with her because she lived in another state. But once she was with us all the time, we noticed that she was having struggles hearing. Although she of course did not think she was losing her hearing, but she was. So she didn't put up a fuss. We got an appointment. She went to an audiologist. There's many different choices of, where you can get hearing aids, even over the counter, big box stores, etc. I'm glad we went to an audiologist, because that way you have a lot more hand holding along the way, especially when you're elderly and things are a little bit harder for you to understand technology wise. I do have friends that have used Costco hearing department and have had great experiences with that. Her experience is different than Jake's, like he'll tell us in a bit, as she's not as technical, so she's unable to adjust them herself. Another reason to go to the audiologist instead. Her journey's ongoing because of the way that majority of hearing aids, the apparatus is behind your ear, kind of like glasses are behind your ear, and her hair touches it, and it annoys her so much that even though she's paid a big price for these hearing aids, she's willing to try a newer technology that's all the way, it's very, very tiny, and it's just inside your ear. But we are on our 4th visit tomorrow to get those hearing aids fitted right. So there are challenges to hearing aids.
Yeah. So, Dad, you're the expert here. I feel like your sunglasses collection, since you started wearing hearing aids, you always have like the most high tech. You're very high tech. Like, Dad's always the first to adopt a new laptop, an Apple Watch, an iPhone. So I wanted to start
Dad's
with
also a man of quality, so he's not just going to get any hearing aid. And luckily enough, he can do that. He can test out and find the top of the line.
So let's start out with, how old were you when you first got hearing aids, and how did you know that you needed them? Because, I have small kids and they're getting their ears checked all the time. And as an adult, I think, I don't know, when's the last time I had my ears checked?
Right.
6th grade.
I was 62 when I got them, 2014. I don't know how I knew I needed them. I think it was Pam probably got tired of me yelling at her or yelling at me, trying to get me to understand something. I don't know, but I grew up on a farm, and so I work construction. I've worked on the oil rigs. I do a lot of shooting. So when I grew up, there was never any idea about hearing protection. And so you run a tractor 12, 14 hours a day, or you run a
I forgot about the
baler or
tractor.
something like that.
Yeah.
It just accumulates. There was no such thing as earmuffs. You shot guns without earmuffs. So I think, I don't know. I don't know how I made the decision. But I still work, and I wanted to be able to continue working, and recognizing that I needed to meet with people. I needed to be able to hear them and understand them. I went to an audiologist, and they put you in a soundproof room, and they do the tones, and you say yes when you hear a tone. And typically of men my age and older people, the upper tones were lost, and the mid tones were, they were okay. Low tones were fine, but the upper tones were pretty much gone. And so that's then that's how I decided, well, if I want to continue in my profession, unless I just want to
keep affording those sweet sunglasses.
Keep affording my sunglasses that I give to my grandchildren. I needed something that was high quality. And so luckily the audiologist that I went to, there were a lot of options. And we talked about what I did for a living, my need for them. There's a lot of hearing aids are not covered under insurance plans, Medicaid, Medicare.
Even under Medicaid.
No.
And they won't cover the exam or the hearing aid.
So you can. There are supplementals you can buy, and I actually called my audiologist today to ask him about that. And with these plans, you can get hearing aids for as low as a couple $100, $200 or $300. They usually come. You still have to go to an audiologist to get tested, and they'll program them to the extent that they can be programmed. But they're only good. These programs are only good for like 2 or 3 visits. After that, if you go back to get it updated, to get your hearing aid cleaned or adjusted, it's $65 or $75 a pop when you go back. Now, when I bought my hearing aids, I went for a really high quality, not just a high number, but something that was programmable. And so all my follow-up visits, I go every 3 months for a follow-up visit. They test it out. They They will updo the programming. If there's a new program setting, they'll adjust the programming, clean them, and they don't charge anything. So to me, it's worth it because of what I do in my profession and the people I meet. And a lower, I'm not saying that they're not good hearing aids, but a lower quality non-adjustable hearing aid just wouldn't work for me.
What do you mean by programmable? Can you explain what that means?
Well, yeah. So I can go into for instance, if I'm in a meeting, my hearing aids will have two programs. If I happen to be in a meeting where there's a lot of noise, I can change the program where it will focus only on the sound coming in front of me. Now I have to look at that person and kind of look at their lips, but it deadens the program. It deadens the as much as it can the sounds behind me.
The ambient noise that's happening.
This is good in a restaurant. It is not perfect in a restaurant, but it helps. The other thing that they can do, and I just did this about a month ago. I noticed it when I was traveling in meetings. I was missing some of the mid-tones. People, when they would talk fairly quietly, I couldn't understand them. So I went into the audiologist, and he just popped the hearing aids out and just adjusted the sound for those mid-tones so that I could hear better. So it helps. It's, every time I go in there, he'll ask me, is there something I can do? How about these tones, higher tones, lower tones? You want me to adjust them? And so it's great that way.
And it's pretty cool. He's just got an app on his phone. So on a Sunday dinner, when the kids are being real loud, you can just see him turn it all the way down so that he can't hear them anymore.
We joke about this a lot, but this was actually something that came up in my reading where, it's really hard because you've adjusted your hearing for, let's say we're having a conversation and someone drops a knife on the ground in a restaurant and it's so amplified that it's almost like you would be jumpy. So I could see you trying to protect yourself by being like, someone's going to scream at some point in this meal and I'm just going to tone it down a bit.
Well,
right.
Hearing aids are great, but they don't replace natural hearing. They're never going to be as good as your natural hearing. Your natural hearing has the ability to filter out the noises and to blend everything together. Hearing aids, as good as they are, and they're becoming better and better every year, they don't have the ability to do that like your natural hearing is. So, the thing is, we're all getting older. And I remember when I was a youth, I looked at the old people and thought, man, you're an old fart. And I'm never going to be like you. Well, the only way you're never going to be like me, to some extent, is you're going to die young, or you're going to be like me, and you're going to lose your sight, or you're going to lose your hearing, or whatever it is. So when you're young, you just need to learn to protect those assets you have because they're not here forever.
I think that every time I go to a concert and forget to put earplugs in, I just regret it. And I think, what damage did I just do? Because Dan Reynolds is just amplified in my brain. But talking about how the technology is getting better and better, your particular hearing aids are very cool because they act as your Bluetooth, right? Like your phone rings and it's within your hearing aid, right?
Yeah, and that's the nice thing about it. I mean, a lot of states...
You are saving on AirPods.
Right.
Yeah. A lot of states, if you, like California, for instance, if you're driving in California, your phone rings, you have to have a hands-free set. Well, mine are Bluetooth, so it answers into my ears. It makes a lot of people nervous when I walk down the street and I'm having this conversation by myself.
They can't see any AirPods.
I love it though, because
clearly,
if we can't find Mom, we'll just call Dad because we know it's literally in his ear. And
It'll
he'll hear
ring
his
anywhere.
Phone. He'll hear his phone.
It's about Harry Potter.
Oh yeah, so along the lines of like the gee whiz factor, I wanted you to tell the story of going to the Harry Potter Broadway musical.
Yeah, this is one thing nice about hearing aids and technology today, and actually, I don't know if it's necessarily the entertainment, because this happens in theaters and live theaters and movie theaters. There's a big push, and there are a lot of theaters that you can program the sound into your hearing aid. So you're not dependent on what's being said on the stage going through that particular sound system. And that is really cool. Now, a lot of movie theaters recognize that. Churches are becoming more and more like that. And that's just a great feature. It's only going to get better. One of the things I do with my audiologist every time I go in there, is there anything new and great and better coming out? Because, as long as I'm working, if there's a new advancement in hearing aids, then I'll get it, because the quality of what can happen just increases.
How often would you recommend talking to your audiologist or going in and kind of, is it an annual kind of thing?
Well, I go in every 3 months to get them adjusted, but about once every 12 months or 18 months, I'll do another hearing test. And then he can take that data on the hearing test and make some adjustments that maybe I'm not aware that need to be made. So, they're awesome, and they can just look at the data that comes through there and let's try this adjustment and see how you like it.
It really is about making that effort to take care of yourself, right? Like
Right.
going in quarterly to get adjustments, going in yearly for a test. A lot of people don't even take the time to go to the dentist, right? So it's about being proactive about your health, being proactive about the things that are going to change your life for the better, right?
Oh, totally.
Also, the younger that if you have a hearing problem, the younger that you jump on it, the easier it is to adapt. Now, I remember when my dad, who lost his hearing, we tried to get him hearing aids, and he couldn't stand them because the change of being deaf and then all of a sudden having all this noise come in here, he couldn't process that.
Interesting.
And so, he would leave him in for an hour or two, and then it mentally drove him crazy. He just couldn't stand it. So, and it takes some getting used to. You have to adapt to it. In fact, when I got my first set of hearing aids, the audiologist says you should probably wear these at least 12 or 13 hours a day. And for the first 6 months, 8 months I went back there, they can look at, once they plug them in and do their programming, they can tell you how long you've worn them average during the daytime.
Oh, that's
and so
cool.
there's advantages. You just need to jump on it. This is a health issue, and you just need to jump on them earlier because it's going to come.
Yeah, I wondered if you, like me, when I put the readers on and it was like, well, I probably should have done this a couple years ago. When you first got your hearing aids, did you think, oh, I wish I would have done this earlier? Or, you're right in that window of like 65.
Yeah, I probably should have done it a few years earlier. I don't have any regrets. I didn't at the time until I got them. I don't think it had any negative impact on what I was doing for work or social activities. So I don't know if I probably should have done a little earlier, but that decision.
Usually you're an early adapter. And I must say you are an above average man because men
You say that on air, but
men experience twice as much hearing loss than women, but women are way more likely to go get hearing aids.
That's
so
why
you
women.
are above
That's why men
average,
do,
baby.
because women talk in the upper tones, and that's why men lose the upper tones
Can't
first.
hear it. But you are leading by example. I must say our uncle, my mom's brother, her younger brother, came into town, right? And you influenced him.
Well, I gave him. When I went to my second set of hearing aids, I gave my first set to him.
And he was probably, how old was he when that happened? Young,
58.
58.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
And
probably.
then my sister also has hearing aids
I didn't know
now.
that.
I didn't know that either. Right. So you're influencing someone even younger to adapt it too. And I mentioned I recently had surgery. I don't know how old my doctor is. I feel like he seems fairly young in
Early
his early
60s, probably.
I don't even know 60s yet, but I noticed on the last appointment he had thin hearing aids in, and it actually impressed me. I was like, now there's someone who's taking control of his health.
It used to be a stigma. You see people
Right.
with hearing aids on them, and it was kind of a stigma. And you could always hear them trying to adjust them in a meeting. You'd hear that squelching and screaming. They're not like that anymore. In fact, my hearing aids, you can get them in different colors in the back. And since my hair is gray, the hearing aids are
they're
kind of gray
silver.
too.
Yeah.
They're
I've
silver,
never even
and so-
noticed there was something on the back.
I haven't either until he just flipped his earlobe, and I noticed that.
Wow.
The nice thing about them too, the set I have now I don't have to have batteries. The last group, the last set that I have, they're just rechargeable, so I don't have to put batteries in them. So you're not
nice.
in a position where you're in the middle of somewhere and the batteries die and maybe don't have a set of batteries with you.
So I think one of the things I wanted to talk about too, because of the factor of loneliness, I think even if you have, like you said, even if you have hearing aids, it doesn't replicate what your natural hearing
not
did.
perfect.
Right. If you have someone in your life that wears hearing aids, how can you be more considerate of including them? We definitely talk over grandma at Sunday dinner.
We definitely talk over everybody.
But
at
I
Sunday
also
dinner.
think if it's, hey, let's spend some time with grandma, probably Sunday dinner is not the right environment because there's multiple people talking. And I think about that a lot. Like when we go to dinner, it's like, wow, the food's great here, but this restaurant's really loud. And I wonder if dad's just like, annoyed or whatever. So how could you be considerate of someone who, wears hearing aids? Like what are the best, experiences, even in the business sense too, if you're in a meeting with someone, right?
Well, there's a two-edged, not a two-edged sword. There's two options to this, or two parts of this. If you're wearing hearing aids, you kind of have responsibility to position yourself in a place in a meeting or a restaurant where you have the best ability to hear. If you're in a restaurant and it's a noisy restaurant, it's very difficult to hear even with the best hearing aids. So the best advice you can get is to have your back to a majority of the noise. So if you have a restaurant table that is close, it's enclosed or close to an end, if someone has a hearing aid, you put them with a back to the noise so that they're not getting so much ambient noise.
Or maybe you just don't take grandma to a restaurant.
Well, I would say if you eat outside, does that help?
No, yeah, outside, because the sound is filtered. You don't have anything bouncing off the walls. Restaurants are extremely noisy because most of them have open ceilings and flat walls, so there's nothing to absorb the noise. Plus, everybody's trying to impress everybody with their conversation at every table. And there's glasses clinking, there's silverware, there's people dropping dishes. But because it's very difficult in a very noisy restaurant, even if I program my hearing aids to go forward, to look forward, sometimes it's very difficult to even understand what's being said by that person.
Oh, right.
So
Beware of the low talkers.
Yeah. Well, I've even noticed, I don't know, being in my 40s now, I just am annoyed when I go to somewhere where it's so loud that you kind of have to shout to talk. I'm like, oh, this is like, I'm kind of bored with this environment, which used to seem fun, but now it's, so if you had hearing
With
aids, I
age
can imagine.
comes refinement of and not putting up with situations anymore, right?
So true. Anything else you want to share? Any parting wisdom?
you actually think I have wisdom now?
What?
No, you need to protect your hearing as much as you can. I mean, I won't even mow the lawn now without muffs on. I'm very conscious of external noises. When I fly on an airplane, I will use noise canceling headsets because the noise, just internal noise of the aircraft is annoying, and I can hear it even without my hearing aids. So I do everything I can to try to protect what I have, because what I have left, I will eventually still lose more of it. That's why I hope that technology will keep up on it, at least keep me into a situation where I can continue to work and do what I do for at least 5 or 8 more years. So if you just be cognizant of your surroundings and your situations. I remember growing up, and you put the hearing aids, or you put the earphones on, you turn the music up just as loud as it goes, and listen to Creedence Clearwater Revival or the Rolling Stones or whatever. It's just, it comes back. It's a cumulative effect, and once it's gone, you're not going to get it back.
Well, we appreciate that you take such great care of yourself. I talk to my husband about this all the time. I think it shows a lot of love for other people when you take care of yourself, so that, you can have as high a quality of life as possible for as long as possible, right? Like longevity